What if everything you've ever believed was a lie? Not just a simple mistake, but a carefully crafted illusion, hiding the truth right in front of you. I know it sounds unsettling, almost terrifying, but let me ask you this. Have you ever felt that something was off? Like the world around you doesn't quite fit? What if that feeling was your mind trying to break free from the illusion, trying to show you that reality isn't what it seems, that everything you know is part of a grand deception? For your entire life, you've trusted your senses, believed in what you can see, hear, and touch. But what if I told you those very senses are betraying you? That your brain has been manipulating everything, feeding you a version of reality that isn't even real, just to keep you in line? Science, neuroscience breakthroughs, they're all starting to reveal the cracks in this facade, showing us that the world we experience is nothing but a hallucination, a controlled hallucination, shared by everyone, but designed to keep you unaware of the truth. And here's the darkest part. This isn't an accident. Your brain doesn't care about truth. It's only concerned with survival, keeping you trapped in a web of illusions, just enough to function, never to question. But now you're beginning to see beyond the veil. Are you ready to uncover what's been hidden from you all along? Once you start questioning this reality, there's no going back. The truth is darker and more powerful than you've ever imagined. It was an ordinary evening, right? A quiet suburban home, everything in its place, but something felt off. Staring into the mirror, something didn't quite add up. No reflection, or maybe, wait, 6 fingers? That can't be right. Suddenly the air thickened and everything around you began to shift as if reality itself was slipping away. In that moment, nothing felt real anymore. It wasn't just strange, it was like the world was revealing its fragility. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is what we call reality really as solid as we believe? Most of us live our lives assuming what we see is the truth, an unshakable objective reality. But what if that's just an illusion? What if everything around us, your house, your mirror, your entire world, is a creation of your brain, a neural simulation? And when that simulation cracks, when reality feels broken, it's your brain struggling to piece it all together. That 6th finger, the missing reflection, it wasn't a mistake. It was your brain's prediction failing. Crazy, right? It's like reality itself is just a story your brain tells you. But what happens when that story doesn't match what's real? These dissonant moments, they're not as rare as you think. Every time you experience something that doesn't fit, like when the world feels off, it's your brain realizing, oops, got it wrong. And here's the wild part. It happens to everyone. But most people brush it off, ignore it, move on. But when you pause, when you really see it, you realize reality is not what it seems. Could it be that this world, this reality we cling to, is nothing more than a prediction from the brain? And every time it gets it wrong, it rewrites the script, updating the illusion you live in. What if I told you that everything you experience, everything you see, hear, and feel isn't the real world at all? That it's all just a projection, a carefully crafted hallucination created by your brain? Sounds wild, right? But think about it. When you touch something, you're not directly experiencing that object. You're feeling the brain's interpretation of it. In reality, your senses are just messengers, sending signals that your brain interprets. So, what you perceive as reality is nothing more than a projection, a controlled hallucination. Now, here's the kicker. Everyone around you is experiencing this too. Every person you meet is living in their own version of reality, their brain constructing their world just like yours. It's a shared illusion, but no two people experience it in exactly the same way. So when you look at a tree and someone else looks at that same tree, are you both really seeing the same thing? Or is it just your brain's best guess of what that tree looks like? Suddenly, the idea of objective reality starts to seem a little shaky, doesn't it? This is why our perception is so fascinating. What we see, hear, and feel isn't an exact copy of the external world. It's more like a hallucination, shaped by the brain's predictions and past experiences. And yet, we share this hallucination with others, making it feel real, solid, like something we can all agree on. But can we? What if our reality is nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion, keeping us all functioning just enough to survive? Makes you wonder how much of your reality is truly real. Have you ever wondered how your brain makes sense of everything so quickly? It's almost like magic. But the truth is, it's all about predictions. Your brain is constantly guessing what will happen next, using something called predictive processing. Imagine this. Every moment, your brain isn't just passively receiving information from the world, it's actively predicting what's coming. Based on your past experiences, it creates a model, a framework of what it expects to see, hear, or feel. So what does this mean for your reality? Well, your brain is like a master storyteller, filling in the gaps before the story even unfolds. When you walk into a room, you already have an idea of what it'll look like based on your memories and previous encounters. This predictive processing is why things usually seem so smooth, so predictable, until they're not. And when something unexpected happens, when reality doesn't match your brain's prediction, it has to quickly adjust. It's like a constant dance, balancing between what you expect and what actually happens. But here's the fascinating part. Your brain relies on these predictions more than you realize. In fact, your reality is shaped by what your brain thinks will happen, not just by what's really out there. So when you experience something new, your brain updates its model, tweaking its expectations for the future. This process is how you navigate the world, how you survive. It's a delicate balance of predictions and perceptions, constantly refining the story of your life. But how does your brain handle it when its predictions are wrong? Ever had a moment where something just didn't make sense? Like when you see a flash of color where it shouldn't be, or hear a sound that feels out of place? These moments are called prediction errors. They happen when your brain's guesses about reality don't match up with what's actually happening. It's as if your brain had its story all figured out, but reality threw in a twist it didn't see coming. And in those moments, you feel the jolt, like the world just shifted a little. So what does your brain do when it gets reality wrong? It quickly adjusts. Let's say you hear a loud noise out of nowhere. Your brain didn't expect that, right? In that split second, it scrambles to update its model of the world, trying to make sense of the unexpected. It's like a constant feedback loop. Your brain makes predictions, reality gives input, and when the two don't match, your brain adapts. This is how you grow, how you learn, and how your perception of the world evolves over time. But here's the kicker. These prediction errors are essential. They're not just mistakes. They're opportunities for your brain to fine-tune its understanding of the world. Every time something unexpected happens, your brain becomes a little more accurate, a little more aligned with reality. But can it ever truly get it right? Or is it always playing catch-up, trying to piece together a reality that's constantly shifting? Have you ever noticed how you don't need to consciously process every little detail around you? That's because your brain is a master at saving energy. Much like a video player only updates when something changes on the screen, your brain operates the same way. It only focuses on what's new or unexpected. This efficiency is what keeps you from feeling overwhelmed by the constant stream of information flooding your senses. Imagine if you had to process every detail of every second. It'd be exhausting, wouldn't it? Here's the thing, your brain prioritizes survival, not accuracy. It's not concerned with giving you a perfect, detailed picture of reality. Instead, it's focused on delivering just enough information to keep you safe, to help you navigate the world efficiently. So, when you walk into a room, your brain doesn't rebuild the whole image. It just updates the changes, not like new faces or objects that weren't there before. It's a bit like mental video compression, keeping things streamlined and functional. This energy-efficient way of perceiving the world is what allows you to function without burning out. Your brain cuts corners, skipping over what it deems unimportant, letting you focus on what matters most, survival. But here's the intriguing part. If your brain is constantly filtering and simplifying your reality, how much of what you see is really there, and what might it be leaving out? Have you ever watched a magician pull off a trick and thought, how did they do that? It's fascinating, isn't it? The secret lies in your brain's predictions. Magicians know exactly how your brain works. They use its mental shortcuts against you. When you expect one thing and they deliver something else, it feels like magic. But really, it's just your brain being tricked by its own predictions. Your brain fills in gaps, making assumptions based on what it knows, and sometimes it gets it wrong. Let's take a card trick, for example. You're so focused on where the magician tells you to look that you miss the real action happening elsewhere. Your brain makes a prediction. I know where the card is. But then, poof, it's gone. Your brain has to scramble, trying to figure out what just happened. It's these mental shortcuts, your brain's attempt to process things quickly, that make tricks possible. The brain doesn't like being caught off guard, so it adjusts, learning from the experience. But here's the kicker. These mental shortcuts aren't just for magic shows. They're happening all the time, helping you navigate the world more efficiently. Your brain makes predictions based on past experiences, and when something doesn't match up, it quickly adjusts. This constant prediction and adjustment process is how your brain refines its model of reality. But what happens when the real world throws something unexpected your way, something it can't explain? Think about how you interact with a computer. You don't see the complex code running in the background, do you? Instead, you see simple icons, an interface that makes everything easy to use. Well, your brain works in a similar way. It simplifies the world for you, turning all the complexity around into manageable pieces. You don't see every detail of reality. You see an interface that helps you navigate life. Objects, time, even space, these are all mental shortcuts, helping you make sense of a world far more complex than you can imagine. Your brain is constantly working behind the scenes, creating this simplified version of reality. Take time, for instance. We treat it like a solid, unchangeable thing, but it's really just a concept we've constructed to manage our experiences. The same goes for objects. The brain reduces everything to manageable symbols so you can interact with the world efficiently. It's a beautiful, seamless process, but it hides the true complexity of what's really going on. But here's the intriguing part. This interface is just a simplified version of the world. What you perceive isn't the full story. It's just enough to get you by, to survive. Your brain chooses what to focus on, what to ignore, and how to represent the endless complexity around you. So if your reality is just an interface, what lies beyond it? What's hidden behind the curtain in the vastness of what your brain chooses not to show you? So, what if I told you that everything you perceive is not the truth, but a hallucination? A controlled hallucination, at that, one shared by everyone around you. Your brain takes in signals from the outside world, yes, but it uses predictions to shape what you actually see, hear, and feel. This process, where top-down predictions meet bottom-up sensory input, is how your brain constructs reality. And the craziest part? Everyone else is doing the same. We're all living in our own version of reality. But we believe it's the same one. It's like we're all part of a shared dream, but each person's dream is slightly different. This hallucination is shaped by past experiences, beliefs, and the brain's constant need to predict what's coming next. And because of this, what you see as real might not be what someone else sees. But somehow it all works. We can still communicate, connect, and live in this shared world, even though it's not as solid or objective as we think. It's a delicate balance, this hallucination we call reality. But the real question is, why does your brain do this? Why create a reality based on predictions instead of giving you a clear, unfiltered view of the world? The answer lies in survival. Your brain's priority isn't accuracy, it's keeping you alive. By using predictions, your brain ensures that you can react quickly, stay safe, and adapt to whatever comes your way. So in the end, this shared hallucination isn't a mistake. It's the reason we're all still here, navigating a world that may not be as real as we think. So, what are you going to do now? Knowing that everything you've ever trusted, every sense, every experience could just be a projection, an illusion created by your brain. Does that change how you see the world? What if this knowledge is the key to unlocking a reality far deeper than the one you've been living in? How would you use this understanding to break free from the constraints of your mind's predictions, to see beyond the surface? Imagine what could happen if you started questioning every moment, every sensation. What if you could reshape your reality simply by understanding that it's all a construct? Would you let your brain keep you in the dark, or would you push through, demanding to see what lies beyond the illusion? Now that you're aware of the cracks in this hallucination, you can't just go back to the way things were, can you? The world is more malleable than you think. Are you ready to bend it? But here's a question. If your reality is crafted by the brain, what about your consciousness? Where does it truly come from? We've assumed for so long that the mind and brain are one and the same. But what if that's just another illusion? What if consciousness isn't confined to the brain at all? Imagine the possibilities if your mind, the very essence of your being, extends far beyond the limits of your neural networks. Could consciousness be something much greater than we've ever been led to believe?